Pregame.com.
Welcome back to Pregame.tv. I'm your host, Marco D'Angelo, joined in studio, Ken Thomson, SportsX Radio, Bryan Leonard. We're going to break down college and basketball on this one. We've got some football playoff action this weekend to cover as well. Let's get things started. Pepperdine travels to play BYU. Ken, this is going to be your free pick, and why not? Because you are killing it in college basketball. Kudos to you, my man. What are you, 30-15, I think?
30-15, last 45. And, you know, it's, again, on a good start, off to a good start. But like Chuck says, my partner on Friday nights, you're only as good as your last play. And trust me, the people in the forum will let you know that here at pregame.
And you know what? Sometimes they'll let you know at halftime. They don't even wait till the game's over.
I don't know about you guys. I don't give out halftime or first half plays.
I did make that reference to the gambler, and it was classic because, you know, James Conn, he's out partying and then finds out that they don't pay at halftime, unless you have a first half bet. But I did find out watching Jay Leno last night that they're doing a remake of The Gambler. Mark Wahlberg will be playing James Conn.
Nice. I'll be there to see that one.
That'll be good.
I'm waiting for the remake of Rounders, too. That's another one on my list.
Mark Wahlberg was the only actor that was short enough to play James Conn.
All right. Well, Ken, we got a college basketball game here with Pepperdine and BYU. Any thoughts? Save your good stuff till we make it official, but give us a little preview here.
Yeah, first off, I'm shocked the way that BYU had been playing early in the year. I mean, for them to be sitting at 9-7, I mean, at this juncture, I would have thought this team would have been 13-3 at this juncture. So I'm surprised. My buddy Greg Wrubell calls the games up there for BYU. I know he's surprised. Carlino is a guy that, boy, if he's not clicking, all the pressure's on Hawes. He's got to do it all as far as the scoring. So, you know, hopefully they're able to, you know, get things together because they're in the WCC. No more Mountain West. I mean, you've got Gonzaga, you've got St. Mary's, you've got some good teams up there. Not saying that the Mountain West wasn't tough when BYU was in here, but I think BYU's in a little bit of trouble if they don't get it together because Gonzaga right now is the king of the conference. Despite losing a couple players, they're still the king.
Yeah, that conference has been so dominated the last 2 years. You can almost pencil in the conference championship tournament game every year. It's going to be St. Mary's and Gonzaga over at the Orleans every year here in town. But Bryan, you got anything on this one?
Yeah, getting back to that last point, I think St. Mary's is down this year, so we maybe have something a little bit different. Yeah, BYU, if you've ever been to their home court or watched their home court. I mean, they've got one of the strongest home courts in college basketball. And they're playing a game. You mentioned the way they've been playing. They've lost 5 of 7 games. Their only 2 wins, San Diego, pretty good team, and Prairie View, which is known for a lousy football program. But so they haven't really played very well as of late. But you know what you get out of BYU. Basically, they're very consistent. Every single year, you get a good product out of BYU. And the only concern I have with BYU this year, other than they haven't gotten off to a good start, they're allowing close to 80 points a game. Now, I know the way they play, they run up and down the court, average almost 18 assists a game. That's what they do. But when you get into conference action now, and you've talked about this in the past, it's a different animal, especially defensively. Their defense is really going to have to start picking up.
Yeah, but you talk about conference play, and so often, you know, you'd say, okay, maybe throw out December basketball because you're playing teams that you're not familiar with. But moving to a different conference this year, you're going to be playing teams you're not familiar with. So it's going to be a continuation of that. Where you might get value with this team is if they continue to underperform at the beginning, second half of the season, once they've gone through the schedule once and you're playing teams for the second time and stuff, then you might have some value on BYU.
I talked about this last year in the SEC when you had your Missouris and your Texas A&M coming in there. I think when you join a new conference like that, there's a big home-road dichotomy. You know, BYU always has that, but now it may be even bigger.
Well, you know what, Ken? We've danced around it enough. This is your free pick. Why don't we make it official?
Let's do it.
Good.
And it is going to be BYU at home. I know it is one of the better home court advantages in the country. The Marriott Center is unbelievable. I mean, those fans are there an hour before the game, and a lot of them will be there after the game. And I always joke with all my Mormon buddies out here in Vegas, say you only sell out the Marriott Center because your families are there. I mean, it is unbelievable, though, the atmosphere there. They'll have a big whiteout, and there is revenge because Pepperdine just took out BYU by 6 points in their home in Malibu just about 8 days ago. So, again, fresh on their minds. you're looking at a BYU team that's starting to get things together. And when they're at home, they play very well. Now, remember, they did lose a home game to Iowa State by a deuce early on in the year, and I had Iowa State in that game, but that's the only time you'll ever catch me going against BYU up at the Marriott Center. That is how dominant this home court is. Hawes is outstanding. He's very consistent, had a couple games on the road where he just didn't take that many shots. And I think the game in Utah kind of surprised a lot of people. I know it did me. Krystowiak's doing a great job there. And if we look at Utah real quick, hey, they only have 2 losses, 2 points at Boise State and a 2-point overtime loss to Oregon, a game that they should have won and made a late turnover and ended up squandering a lead down the stretch. So Utah's real close to being 14-0. Meanwhile, for BYU, they're getting back on track. How did they do it? With a home game against San Diego. And as good as the Toreros are, hey, BYU blew them out by 34 points, 87-53. So Bryan was talking, hey, play some defense. BYU does play a little better defense when they're at the Marriott Center and everything's kind of clicking. When you look at Hawes getting 22 a game, Carlino's the X factor, though. Matt Carlino, the southpaw, he's got to shoot it well to complement what Hawes is doing, and he does shoot it pretty well at home. Then you look down low, you've got Collinsworth and you got Micah, and those two guys between them, they're going to grab 27 points, 14 boards. That's where BYU is a little weaker. They don't have the Brandon Davies guy. They don't have that big body. So these two guys, Collinsworth and Micah, they've got to come up big in order for BYU to control the glass inside the paint. For Pepperdine, Marty Wilson doing a nice job. It's his 3rd year. He's 12 games under 500, but he's getting good production in that win against BYU at home. Malcolm Brooks had 24 points, including 6 of 9 behind the arc. That will not happen up there in Provo. Trust me, as Brooks scores less than 10 a game, he will be shut down. Major, Lane, Udemy, and Davis, those guys are all solid as well. And Pepperdine, let's face it, they're playing good. Now, I made this line 12.5. The line just came out right before we went on 15. I don't have a problem laying it. I think BYU, when they're in a revenge factor and you're going back to the Marriott Center, I know it's a conference game, but I'm looking at BYU 20+ in this game, so I don't mind laying the 15 points. So that's my play, pregame.tv. Give me BYU, the white and blue, at home, Marriott Center in Provo, 20+. I think they blow out Pepperdine.
All right, great stuff as usual, Ken. We're going to be right back. We're going to do another college basketball game. We're going to jump to Saturday and take a look at Bradley at Indiana State. That's up next on pregame.tv.